Hey everybody, this is Rich and you're with Beekeeping with Rich. So way back when I did a video on making a really super simple solar wax extractor, and one of the comments was somebody asked for a live action video of it working. Well, a live action video of watching wax melt is a whole lot like watching paint dry, but we'll give it a shot as a two-part video. Right now, this area in my front is in the shade because of a big tree. In a little while, the sun's going to clear that tree and things are going to heat up. So I'm going to set it up now and we'll come back in a couple hours and we will see what went on. As a quick recap, the super simple solar wax extractor is just a hive body. In my case, it's an 8-frame body. And a paint pan. Oh, good. Sorry, a semi-truck just is driving by, which doesn't normally happen in this neighborhood.
We won't be able to hear it if you just keep talking.
Okay. So at any rate, all you do is take a nice, clean, brand new paint pan. You can knock the legs back on it. You drill a hole here. You put a screw in here. That gives you a downward sloped tray. If you can find yourself a piece of silicone like this, that's terrific. You put it in here, it lies flat in there, the feet go into it. Don't not do it because of that. These pans are 3 for $1.25 at the $1.25 store. Used to be the dollar store. And you can use that instead because it's easy to peel wax off of aluminum. It's just easier to peel wax off of silicone.
Trade first.
Adjustment for the sun. If you can change your angle over here just a little bit.
Show them how the wax gets out.
Oh. Well, you cut a slit and you bend this down slightly right there so the wax can flow out. I mean, you could just go ahead and snip it here and fold it down too if you wanted to, but I wanted to maintain the structural integrity right there. It's up to you. But your wax is going to be up in here. It heats up. It flows down into that pan. The slum gum is left up on the tray, and you harvest your wax. Someone recently was making a comment in the video, how do you keep that from all falling out? Well, it's a matter of, this is not a huge setup. It's for the backyard beekeeper with a couple of hives, has to melt a little bit of wax now and then, and it's not a problem to come out and check it so that it doesn't overflow. For one thing, when you do that, this is at an angle like this. I'll show you how that works in a minute. You can just drop it down, let the wax that's piling up here flow to the back. Cool, because it's underneath here. And then it'll go back up. Okay? So, let's get on with it. So, a piece of your material that we've talked about many times, and a piece of shear. Here's what little wax I've been able to accumulate, but it's just enough to do something here. I'm also going to put this old chunk of already cubed up dirty wax, which is what I use for doing blacksmithing work. I don't use that for anything else. Just tie it all up. Set it in there. There's nothing elaborate about the top. It's just a piece of glass that you scavenged. It's not going anywhere because of that. You'll notice, of course, that there is seal rubber all around here. Your angle is the latest in high tech. You take a chunk of wood. I've used firewood on many occasions. You stick it in like this. At whatever angle you feel you need to. There's still plenty of room in the reservoir down there for more wax than we're going to generate from this. So in an hour or so, the sun will be up where it'll start heating this up. The wax will flow out through the screen, leaving all the slum gum behind. And we'll be back to look at that in a few hours. So until then, like and subscribe. Hey everybody, this is Rich, and you're back with Beekeeping with Rich. Okay, so we set the solar wax extractor out with some wax in it yesterday, not earlier today, because my videographer didn't come back from visiting with her daughter yesterday in time for us to get the picture before we lost the sun. So we're back out here this morning. Yesterday the sun came down, most all the wax is run out of here. It cooled off yesterday evening, which is why you still see down the white wax down there. Now it's been out here a few hours this morning. There has been some more slow seepage of wax trickling down and dropping in the bottom, which is why you see the yellow wax on top of the white. At the moment, the yellow is still liquid, the white underneath it is solid. Yesterday, I had simply put the bag in there, and it started slowly because liquid wax has a very lubricant effect. It all started sliding down, so I did have to go ahead and tie it to the screw up here to keep it from just sliding down and clogging the exit hole down there. Other than that, this has been untouched since that point. We're going to take this off. One thing I would mention, yesterday when this was all molten down here, it was crystal clear. And through it, you could see a dark layer underneath. Now that dark layer might just be dirt and such, but more than likely that dark layer is honey. Old honey that was still up in there and makes a little layer on the underside. We'll find this out when we pop this whole thing apart, take it apart, and start looking at the different aspects of it. So let's get started. Woo! Certainly wouldn't want to hold on to that for more than 10 seconds. So now that that's off, you want to come back up and take another quick look here. I'm sure that there's probably a little bit of wax to be dribbled out here. No, looks like it's done a pretty good job. I would hardly even call that wax. It's more slum gum than anything else. So if you'll come over where I am, you can see there's a bit of wax that's kind of caught up over here on the edge. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, still mostly slum gum. Definitely going to have to do a better job of cleaning this than I did before. All right, so I'm going to make the sacrifice here and spread this out on the table, which means I'm going to have to clean the table later on. So there is your slum gum. Now you'll notice one of the things I put in there yesterday was a whole block of wax, and there's no sign of that block of wax anymore. What you've got right here is just all the bee bread that was in there. All the wax from the cells melted from around it. But if you were into such things, you could eat this bee bread if you wanted to. And there is some beautiful slum gum. Now there is something you really want to go scraping on the inside of your bait hives. Slum gum being all the dirt and yuck and wax that's left over.
Or swarm traps.
Bait hive, swarm trap, same thing, dear.
Okay.
Whether you use the term bait hive or the term swarm trap. This is the sort of thing that will attract bees. You saw already there was one bee coming up on it. Now, nothing to see here, except for the fact that I need to get a paper towel and do a better job of cleaning it out, because half of whatever dirt we're going to have down in here is probably going to be from that. Now, actually, why don't I just reduce this to start with. The reason there's wax back here is that yesterday I did tilt this down to spread a little wax towards the back. Okay, so you can see the clear liquid wax here and see how there's a dark layer underneath it. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes. So let's just, as I expect, what I'm going to have when I lift this up is a layer of honey. Yep. Now, make no mistake, you do not feed this honey back to your bees. This honey has been heated enough so that it has stimulated the production of some chemicals that aren't great. Oh yeah, but it tastes like bee bread.
Seriously?
This is the dirtiest, nastiest honey you'll ever taste.
Is that why you keep eating it? Stop now.
Well, as you can see, the nice thing about wax that's been through a solar extractor is that it is just so white, so clean. Just a little bit of dirt here, and most of that dirt was what was in the bottom of this pan and flowed out because it wasn't captured inside here because it wasn't inside. So there you have it, your live action. Well, you want that side? It's beautiful on that side, other than from my hands. So that's what you get. The lovely part about a solar wax extractor, particularly if you use this technique and put a shear inside of it to really capture most of the gunk, it's so white, so pretty. Um, all this is going to clean up a little bit of water in the sink, and then I will probably take another piece of the material here, and I'll bring this back out here. I'll put it back in so I can get, after I clean this up a little bit more, and get an even cleaner pass. Pardon me?
Or put it through the steam extractor.
No, I can put this through the steam extractor. There's no reason to. I'm going to use free energy instead of electricity. I'm out here. We have high Sierra and dust, which is keeping our afternoon thunderstorms away from us. So we actually have sunlight without a shadow most of the day right now. And I'm just going to run it back through here with a clean piece of shear material and get an even cleaner product this time around. So there you go. There's your quote-unquote live action solar wax extraction, one step above watching paint dry. But it comes up with a beautiful product. It uses free power, and it makes for the whitest, prettiest wax. So this is Rich. This has been Beekeeping with Rich. Be sure to like and subscribe, and y'all have a great day. Hey everybody. Sorry the video wasn't actually over. My wife, as I started talking about cleaning up the pan, my wife said, why not line it with aluminum foil? And I said, you know what? I'll bet you parchment paper would be better. So here you go. A little bit of parchment paper. Am I upside down or right side up? Parchment paper. I just lined that nasty tray with parchment paper. You know, stuck it in there, punching the hole here. So, nice fresh piece of what you get?
See if how'd you get it to, did you push it through the hole?
No, just right up to the edge of the hole. Since this is warm and has bits of wax on it, it sticks just fine. But it gives me a beautiful, perfectly clean surface. So I'm just going to throw this in here. Well, this is the wax that we extracted a few minutes ago. This is all the film, everything that got cleaned out. Now where'd that piece of string go? Ah, there it is. Zip. Zip. So, my wife full credit for the idea of, instead of spending all my morning trying to clean this pan, to just line it. How smart was that? All right. There's. If you wonder about angles, all that's necessary is when the sun's coming down, it hits this edge, you want the shadow from that edge to be at the edge of your pan. You don't need to go higher up than that. There's no value to it. I have even modified it somewhat from time to time and come backwards enough so that the actual area where the wax was accumulating was in shadow, but that tends to make for a lumpy, awkward situation. I found it works better just to do it this way. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just watching to see when the sunlight gets to the edge of the pan, and that's where I stop changing the angle. So there we go. We're all set up for that next melt that I was talking about. It was that easy. So again, this is Rich. This is Beekeeping with Rich. Like and subscribe. See you guys later. Hey everybody. Okay, we're back. I spoke too soon when I said goodbye. My videographer insisted that I follow through and come back and show you the result after we put the wax through the solar extractor again. And you know the old saying, happy videographer, happy life. So we did have one issue in that just before it was finally over and done with completely, that a thunderstorm rolled in. So I had to shut everything down and get it out of the way. But here's the bag. Whee, light as a feather, hardly even any slum gum in it, no wax in it. Most of the wax, oops, come here, you. I had it at a lower angle because the sun was higher, so it did stick a little bit on the feet, which it happens sometimes. This tiny bit here is all the wax that had not made its way down through there. This was brilliant, using a piece of parchment paper. I mean, there's a minute bit of wax still on here. If it had been out another 20 minutes, it would have all been gone. So here's the wax, having been through it twice. Little bit of dirt on the bottom, but for the most part, this is just beautiful. Like I said, I had it at a lower angle, so this is not as much as it even looks like. That's all going to be in the bottom, that little bit.
Bottom what?
That little bit.
You put your arm lower?
That little bit.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, that piece of parchment paper worked a lot easier than spending all my time cleaning it. So now we have bonus footage. So that nasty, grungy slum gum that was left inside that net scrapes off easily with an old scraper and got put on the inside. I went and got a bait hive and just went ahead and scraped the slum gum on the inside of the bait hive all the way around. Just, scoop up the soft stuff and smear it on. And this is how much was still left over after I did that. More than enough to warm up and spread on another bait hive at some point in the future. Very little wax in that. Mostly what you got there is bits of propolis and webbing, bee dirt from bee feet and such. But there's a box, nicely smeared with propolis. If you ever wonder what they mean when they say smear propolis on the inside of your box, well, there's an extreme example of it. I mean, had you only smeared it on one side, that would have been enough to do the task. If you've got a half a dozen of these to put out, that would have, you could just smear it on one side and the bees would have been just as attracted to it as they would be this way. So there's a bonus on this particular video. Showed you how to smear slum gum on the inside of a bait hive. And other than that, that's it. Hopefully this does actually wrap up this video on live action wax melting with a solar extractor. So again, this is Rich. This is Beekeeping with Rich. And for the 4th time, like and subscribe.